Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
Hey, good evening, my friends, and welcome to another episode of the Dynamic Dilettante. She's Katie, and nobody cares what my name is. Great to have you along this evening. We got some interesting stuff that's been going on this week. Netflix is apparently taking a bath. They have been losing a lot of subscribers. We learned the other day some 200 plus subscribers that were gone, and then an anticipated 2 million more are expected to be gone, I think, in a fairly short period of time
over the next quarter.
Yeah, which is amazing. And you know what's amazing is that it took as long as it did for this to happen, because you knew this day was coming. Netflix was spending all kinds of money on programs, and they promised, well, we're going to keep the model free. We're going to keep the model free. And it was so bad last week that they are already talking about, well, how about this? How about if we come up with a subscriber model? How are you going to receive that?
Netflix is already how much a month for like the basic service? It's $16.99.
And I pay for additional screens. So it's even above that.
So it's like, I think $18.99 at that point.
Yeah.
So it's already one of the most expensive streaming services. And I'm guessing, based on this Vox article I had just thrown up here, that that's probably one of the reasons why it's so high, is that it doesn't have that ad revenue portion of it like you do see on the lower tier of Hulu. But the funny thing is like Disney Plus, same deal. I only pay $7.99 a month for that one, or $6.99 or whatever it is with tax. They don't have any ads in that one.
Yes.
Is it just because it's a bigger corporation, or?
Yeah, well, I also think one of the reasons they're able to do that is, remember now, Disney pulled all their content off Netflix.
Yep.
Paramount pulled all of their content off of Netflix. So like all the Star Trek shows, how long have I been watching those on Netflix?
Yeah.
As long as you've known me.
Right.
Been watching Star Trek show. They pulled all those off. So what you've got is, with all of these other companies wanting their content on their streaming service, which makes absolute sense. Netflix is kind of, they're the one left without a chair. And so they're going to start charging subscribers. I just don't think that's going to be well received.
Well, the one I had a chuckle about is the main reason they told investors last week is because I think this article came out last week.
Yeah.
Is that, the reason they had the big hit on subscribers, ditching them, is because they had announced, about a month and a half, 2 months ago, that they were going to start cracking down on people sharing passwords.
Yeah, that's right, you people. Sharing your passwords. We know who you are.
Because that's never happened.
Right.
And the thing of it is,
don't tell me they're anticipating losing 2 million subscribers because now they're suddenly cracking down on passwords. Please. They're in trouble. They're in big trouble.
And I know that part of that was too, is that all the companies that were doing business in Russia had, pulled out, and with the whole Ukraine thing, and that was like 700,000 subscribers for them there. But that's everybody who took a bath on that one who had pulled out of there.
Great point.
But that's not enough for them to show that they're going to have 2 quarters in a row with record numbers of people saying cancel.
And it's the first time in 10 years that they've shown a loss. That they are losing those kinds of people, and that they are showing a significant loss. And it's expected to grow worse. I'm not surprised, because they have been carrying a huge amount of debt.
Yeah, because the last time they had this big of a loss was in 2011 when they started. I think that's when they had finally cut the DVD.
Yes.
Subscription portion of the service.
Does anybody even remember that initially you would tell them what movies you wanted, they would mail them to you? Does anybody even remember that anymore?
And then Redbox clearly put that one out of business.
Right. So I just think honestly, I think you might as well start playing the death march for Netflix. I am surprised that it took this long. Not that it happened, but that it took this long to happen, with all the debt load they're carrying, with all the additional services that have come out, with all of those services saying, no, Netflix, we don't want you playing our content. We're going to play our content on our service. And I think then also with the economy the way it is currently, at least in the United States, people are making choices and they're like, Netflix, how much of this do we actually watch? Let's get
Exactly.
rid of Netflix.
Exactly. Because I know that was one of the key reasons that was cited in this Fox article is that people are just saying, hey, am I buying groceries this week, which are already expected to double over the next, 6 months again? Or am I going to pay for Netflix when I already have HBO, Disney,
Right.
Hulu, name
Right.
them? And then also, I think some of those bigger name productions that Netflix used to be able to put together, it seems like a lot of those are going to Apple TV now, too.
How much, in terms of Netflix now saying, well, we're going to come up with a subscription service. We're going to show some ads on that, but we're going to charge you a lot less. How do you think that's going to be received?
I think it's the one thing that's different is like with Hulu. I've always watched Hulu on again, off again for years. And I do a lot of my streaming services a la carte, where if there's a couple of shows that have come out and the seasons are completed, I will get a couple of months of that, watch that, and I'll probably ditch one or the other. And then I always feel bad when I ditch one and I forget to tell you. Um, but the
You
thing,
guys go to tune into something. I'm like, what?
but I typically with Hulu, that's the one I go to because that one started out,
Right.
it used to be free, but you had to watch ads like what every 10 minutes or so, and they'd have like three per 40 some minute episode. And then it went to, well, then they had this upper tier where it's like $11.99 a month, where it's no ads during the entire episode you're watching. But then now it's like $5.99 or $6.99, but you still get some ads involved in
Yeah,
it.
see, I don't get that. We're going to charge you, and we're going to show ads.
Yeah.
That doesn't work for me.
It's
And I'll give you an example. Tubi is a service that I use a lot. Tubi, there are a number of different shows I watch in there, and that is ad supported. And I have no problem with that. Um, Maybe because I make a living off of advertising in my personal life. So it'd be more than hypocritical of me to say, no, I'm not going to watch any of these ads. I don't want ads, so on. Um, but the beautiful thing about that is you expect it, and I don't pay anything for Tubi. I don't pay
Mm-mm.
anything for the service. You watch the ads. And I think trying to now suddenly reinvent themselves, that's going to be tough. I don't think subscribers are going to be accepting of that.
No, people are always more resistive to when you make their life a little harder later on versus if they would have just done that from the
Right.
start.
That's a great point.
Change is always hard, and that's the hardest one right there, just because you're going to hit them. And of course, yeah, like Hulu, that lower level is subsidized by those ads. It's just people are going to complain too much. And minus maybe one show on Netflix right now, I think The Crown. I mean, that's the only
That was
show
very good. Yeah.
I'm waiting to see. And as far as I know, they only have one season left. When that's going to appear, Lord only knows, just because of COVID and production
Right.
it's being pushed out until ad nauseum. But that's the only show I'm waiting to see on there.
Yeah, and I've watched a few. I just recently watched there's a Monty Python series that I had just recently watched, and it was looking back on Monty Python. Forget the name. Actually, it was quite good, and it got into the show, all the movies, kind of watch you through what happened with the group, and the death of Graham Chapman of Monty Python. It was really, really good. There have been some World War II series on Netflix. I think coverage of World War II has been phenomenal on Netflix. But, I talked about this on my local radio show, and a lot of people said, now this more conservative crowd that I'm talking to, and they were saying, it's just too woke. They're just sick of the woke programming. And and so there is a definite pushback from people that I'm just, no, no, thank you. I don't want it in my home.
Right. Because there was the whole controversy,
Yes.
all that. But I don't know, as far as it used to be the gold standard for streaming services. And I mean, don't get me wrong, when it comes to like user interface for what works really well and stuff like that. Yes, I love Netflix because some of them are just absolute trash.
I would agree with you. And I think a lot of these services need to get to work on that kind of stuff.
Right. Because there is so many options anymore. I mean, again, every big production studio has a streaming service.
Sure.
But Netflix just, again, their bottom tiers of just their back catalog is just getting taken away from them, and I think that has to do a big part of it. Because I know, what was it, Friends and like The Office and stuff like that was always a huge one. And there was just a huge outrage when The Office was getting pulled, I think at the beginning of last year.
Right.
And then they extended it. And then people were having to get VPNs just to be able to watch it in a different country of origin, so that they could still pull it up because of whatever licensing or whatever, they can only have it for so long. Yeah. So, and they have a very few in-house productions versus like Paramount.
True. Yeah, absolutely. Right.
I was in the middle of Deep Space Nine and they pulled it.
Okay. We did also want to talk about Moon Knight tonight, the Moon Knight series that has been out there on Disney Plus. And I've watching now. You fell asleep in, what did we watch? 3 episodes? You fell asleep, I think, in the 3rd episode.
Fourth. Because the fourth one just got released last week because it comes out on Wednesday nights.
I should have known it was 4 because it feels like 400. You were just watching another group, and these are people who are really into it, and they're into comics, and they're really into the series.
It's like you and Batman. They're like you and Batman.
Yeah, which is cool. And I understand that you're going to have those people.
Yep.
When it comes to Moon Knight, never read a Moon Knight comic, never owned a Moon Knight comic. I'm not real familiar with the character. And I've kind of hung on with this show. I thought, well, let's wait and see. I keep waiting for this thing to take off. And I am not, what did you and I count up? With the actual screen time in 4 episodes that Moon Knight is actually on screen.
The costume Moon Knight shows up for less than 5 minutes.
Less than 5 minutes.
Yep.
Can you imagine if this were a Batman series and Batman showed up in 4 episodes, less than 5 minutes? That's insane. I just think that's absolutely insane.
Well, and also remember, so think about it. They're 40-minute episodes. So what, 120 minutes worth of content? You're only getting 5 minutes of the actual main character doing what, I'm sorry, it's a comic book character. What do they do best? Down bad guys, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And instead you're getting a lot of other stuff. Personally, it reminds me of The Mummy with Brandon Fraser.
True.
That's what I'm getting the flair of it.
There is some echo of that. I would absolutely agree, which is actually a pretty good movie. I like that movie.
Oh yeah, it's a great movie. But
I wish I could say Moon Knight was a great show.
I mean, and I was just we were talking about this last week. I mean, one of the things that was a little intriguing for me was that it was different. It wasn't like your typical Captain America or Iron Man or anything like that.
Agreed.
It was different because it was using the Egyptian mythology behind it. And it's just, and again, I'm not a comic book person. I come at these strictly from what I can see on TV, stuff like that. But it's, yeah, there's just not, I don't know. They're losing the story.
Well, I think so. It shouldn't be called Moon Knight. It ought to be named after one of the characters.
Leah.
The cast of characters that apparently become Moon Knight, or it's odd. It's a little bit confusing, and I'm okay with that, because as you watch, I'm like, okay, questions are going to be answered generally as I watch. Okay, if I'm confused by this, that's all right. Questions are going to be answered, and I would say some of those have been. but this show just takes its sweet time. And you don't, I don't, again, I don't know why they're calling it Moon Knight, because there is not any central focus on the Moon Knight character.
No. It's I believe the girlfriend is Leia. Or Marlene. It can depend on where. Um there seems to be more focus on her at this point in time in the episodes. I mean, we're not really giving any spoilers out here. They there's just not a, what do I want to say? Disney has a bad habit for a lot of these side project shows they've done, be it Marvel, be it any of the Star Wars shows, any of that. Their seasons as they are only about 8, maybe 10 episodes tops. Some of them are as low as 6. So you can expect from this Moon Knight series, we'll probably maybe get another 2 to 4 episodes. I haven't really looked how many episodes it's slotted for this season.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath.
But the problem is they take all this time to like drag out the, and again, maybe he's not the most well-known character in the Marvel and MCU, whatever. The problem is they take so much time building up the episodes, so then they cram everything people want to see in those last few episodes. And then it's just like, why couldn't I get that spread over
Right.
6 to 8 episodes?
Which is a great point.
The pacing is really bad.
You know, I watched the first episode, and Moon Knight appears at the end of the first episode.
And I can get that for one episode.
Yeah, I can too. I can. Okay, all right. Now we're getting into it. And then here comes the next episode, and oh, by the way, Moon Knight is, you just don't see Moon Knight again. I do not understand that strategy. It doesn't work for me. As I said, you imagine if in the most recent, in Spider-Man No Way Home, if you had that little screen time for those guys playing Spider-Man,
people would be outraged.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You wouldn't even dream of it. And the Batman opened with, which I loved, it was a great movie, opened with his narration, and then him walking through and into the shadows and walking into the crowd. And, it's just got I think, really I wouldn't say explosive beginning, but a great beginning. Really kind of sets the stage, and then you say, okay, now we'll learn more about how we got to be here and so on, what he's up to. Moon Knight just does not follow that trajectory at all, and it's just a mishmash.
Well, like I was saying, it follows the typical Disney Plus formula. Look at season 1 of Mandalorian. Same thing. I almost gave up on that show because you go the first, I think it's like 6 to 8 episodes. You go the first 2 to 3, and it's just like, okay. It's like pulling teeth. And then it's the last few episodes you finally get a little more meat, and then it finally hooks you. But you just don't.
And the Book of Boba Fett, I thought, was even worse in that regard.
Absolutely. But I mean, I've seen Hawkeye. It was another one of the MCU spinoff series that Disney Plus did. Same story. WandaVision, same story.
Yeah, you sat through that, and I just kind of went. I looked at it and went, "What?" Odd.
Interesting concept, and I kind of like how they did that, but they needed to move it along a little bit faster. And those episodes, some of those episodes were only like 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes. And Winter Soldier and the Falcon, same thing.
Yes.
So I don't know. That just must be their formula on how they do shows and how they do these shows for their streaming service. But it's just, I don't like it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't like it either.
Yeah.
And I got to the point at the end of the last episode, or even the third episode, I thought, do I really want to watch another one? I mean, I'm waiting for this thing to develop. Do I really want to wait through another episode? And I did. And I thought, that now I'm really hesitant to have to wait through another one. I think I'm going to wind up in the same spot I found myself with Halo. I In my case, not familiar with the characters, not familiar with what they're doing, nothing there that really tripped my trigger. And I'm all about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, video games and you know, the whole story behind Halo for those like you who played the video game. I mean, you got a rich history of stuff there, and they're messing around. I'm like, no, I don't need to come back. And that's kind of the way I am with Moon Knight.
Well, and the interesting thing is, it's a franchise that hasn't, or I mean, it's a character in a franchise that hasn't really been, not a franchise so much, but a character series that really hasn't been explored too much as far as making a TV adaptation for it. Versus if you take something like Superman or Batman or something like that, or
Right.
Spider-Man. Spider-Man's a perfect example of that. It's been done so many times. And there are good adaptations of it, and there are bad adaptations of it.
Agreed.
And there are some that, in a good series, in my opinion, it's got something where the person who has never seen it before can approach it, get a good idea of what's going on, but then there's that extra layer in there where people who are familiar with the backstory, the whole mythology of the character, the comic books, etc.,
Yeah.
they're those Easter eggs. They can sink their teeth into that. And
Now,
that,
the Batman was a great example, you
Yep.
know, and they're referencing Hush and they're referencing, you know, all these different things that people who are into Batman recognize that stuff. If you're a casual fan, you wouldn't have known any of that.
Yep.
But it was there, and it really grew that story. It went a little too long, as we've talked about previously.
yeah.
But yeah, you just don't get any of that kind of thoughtful storytelling from Moon Knight.
No, it's like, and I almost wonder, as slow as they drag these episodes out, could they have condensed it a little bit more? Made a shorter season. Maybe it was just a mini series instead of a season, and you got a little bit more out of it, and it was just paced better. The pacing is what kills most of those
You know,
series.
and you know what? There's something to be said for ratings-driven television, you know, and the fact that shows that don't cut it get canceled. We're not
Mhm.
gonna make these anymore. Nobody's watching this. We're out of here. You know, versus these, you put it on Disney Plus, and they're just gonna keep cranking out the crap. You know, um, at some point, the bottom's got to fall out on this stuff. I think.
Yeah. You can only, I don't know. They've led that horse to water, and that horse is just dead. It's just not going to drink anymore.
All right, what else have we got in the news this week?
We were going to talk a little bit about Twitter. That was kind of a new one that just popped up yesterday. I don't know about you, but I was a little shocked that actually went through. I thought they were going to execute the poison pill on that one.
I didn't think they would, because they've got an obligation to shareholders,
Right.
you know. And so the board wanted to talk tough, and they did. But I think at the end of the day, you know, if they're not careful, they'll wind up with lawsuits from shareholders who are angry.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't believe that for a moment when they were talking about the poison pill. So this went, I would have to say, this went through faster than I expected, however.
I think they said it's another 6 months before everything's finalized.
Before it's final, correct.
And the thing is, so why is Twitter important? Because everybody says it's currently just a cesspool and there's just the worst of the worst on there and everything else. But I don't know about you, but I think I'm on Twitter probably more than you are. I think you usually just are on Twitter for the most part to update, to search out stories and then kind of see what's going on as far as some pop culture stuff. Like me, I get all my news from Twitter. The people who I follow on YouTube and stuff like that, I follow their Twitter stuff. And time after time after time, it was amazing how many times yesterday you saw all of a sudden there's some certain people's follower counts and whatnot came up. They've gained more people just in one period yesterday than they had over about a month or two.
Right.
You saw people who were canceled or banned or whatever, getting back on the platform.
Tucker Carlson of Fox News would be an
Yep.
example. His account was returned to him last night.
Steve from YouTube says Twitter can be a cesspool, but if you go there to see the meltdowns, it's well worth the ride. Just don't get sucked into the debates.
Right.
No,
right.
I gotta say, yesterday I was hitting F5 on my computer screen and refreshing my phone. Just the term is Schadenfreude. It's taken pleasure in the pity and the just misery of others. Just seeing people's heads explode, which is it's no reason. I think if Elon Musk does what Elon Musk says he's going to do in the form he's going to do it, it'll be great because it'll actually be true free speech platform where somebody can actually get on there, say what they want. Because the thing of it is if somebody gets on there and says something stupid and that's just out and out wrong, that attention that person's going to get, they're going to get dogpiled. And they'll be silenced that way.
Absolutely.
And they should be called out at that point if they're making stupid comments, if they're making hateful comments, if they're making, just trying to stir the pot. They should be called out for what they are.
But what you are seeing right now at Twitter is a group of people who don't want to be called out, who don't want to have that stuff. And the people who work at Twitter are acting like the Nazi regime has just taken over Twitter. It's absolutely incredible. I had a listener who told me this morning, he said, he can't help but laugh. He said, grab the popcorn and watch the show. And that's kind of what it's been. People are just melting down. And I've got to say, I find it funny. You criticize me if you want. I find it absolutely hilarious.
It's hilarious. The amount of memes I saw yesterday, I hadn't seen in so long. The thing is it's, if anybody really wants to get a good idea of where Elon Musk sits with his thoughts on, free speech and what his vision kind of is for Twitter, there is a really good TED Talk he did on April 14th. If you just go on YouTube and search Elon Musk TED Talk, it's like 15 minutes. It's well worth watching. It's an interview format. It's very easy to watch. It'll give you a really good idea where he's coming from. But again, you're going to have the people who are going to, heads are going to explode. Oh my gosh. I had to say.
I totally get that people at Twitter are concerned for their jobs.
Right.
If you've ever been through an ownership change, and some of us have, a corporate change, I've been through several of them, and it can be worrisome. You don't know what they're going to do. You don't know what they may change. You don't know if you've got a job. So it is a stressful time. I get that. And I'm willing to be, thoughtful of Twitter employees who are going through that. But at the same time, can we act like adults? Do we have to run around like children screaming and throwing tantrums? Because that's basically what a lot of these people are doing.
Oh, absolutely. And the other side of it is people are so adverse to change. The fact of the matter is there's probably only a handful of people we can count on one hand that know what the trajectory is, since that company is going to go private. He wants to open source all their algorithms and stuff like that, which is great. Because guess what? Sunshine's the best disinfectant. Now, true, other companies can copy that stuff at that point. But you and I know what's getting downvoted, what's getting upvoted. Why are you getting certain things fed to your timeline? Why are etc. And it's just right there. You can see it. You don't like it, great. If you like it, there's your platform. If you don't like it, Facebook's still there. There's 100 other alt tech.
Yeah, Donald Trump's platform. Trump is not coming back to Twitter, he says, because he was pretty prolific on Twitter.
Yeah.
Prior to him becoming president, I mean, he was on Twitter quite often, even during his presidency. So, but he says he's not returning. He's not coming back. He's going to stay at Truth Social. So there are others that will, I think, pop up, and that's competition.
Yep. And the thing is that because there's competition, if you don't like it, you can always go someplace else.
Yep.
You like it, great. And again, yes, certain platforms have become, they do need to be regulated like a public utility, where actually there's that Section 230 protections. But I just think it's funny how
don't get me started, because I favor that.
Yes.
But now we hear Elizabeth Warren and then, talking about Section 230, and it's there's going to be a lot of politics played with that in
Yeah,
an effort to get control
of the
of social
narratives.
media. Yeah.
It'll be really interesting to see what happens around November with all that. See if that maintains, because that 6 month period will end in about October, right at the beginning of November,
Right.
October.
Yes.
So it'll be really interesting to see if there's shifts in it or what. But like I said,
Do
I
you think there are going to be rough times ahead for Elon Musk in terms of, with the many at Twitter, not all, but you got a number of Twitter employees running the media and complaining about Elon Musk. And do you think he's going to have a hard time regulating the company I mean, managing the company?
I think there's a lot of people that don't really understand that guy. Everybody wants to say, "Oh, he's this way with his politics," or "He's this way with his politics." Look
I
at
don't think I have any idea what his politics
exactly.
are.
It's pretty it's not shady. It's just he's not very out in the open about it. I mean, it's not like you see him donating to certain political action committees for one party or the other. But the thing is the guy does the right thing for the right reasons. He's been described like Tony Stark. You know, Ukraine needed
Wouldn't that be a nice comparison?
Ukraine needed internet. He
Right.
sends Starlink
Yep.
over there.
Yep.
The guy wants to put people on Mars. Lord knows the only one guy who could probably do it is that guy.
Yep.
And his companies. On the flip side, I think he's a capitalist at heart, honestly, because if you look at him, he moved all his companies out of California when they started really hammering down on tax.
Texas.
Yeah, to Texas because of the taxes and stuff. He's a capitalist. He's, so that's truly where his motivations are, in my opinion.
And the governor of Texas is already saying, "Hey, bring Twitter to Texas."
Well, shoot, I don't know how many tweets from different governors yesterday saying, "Well, if you need a new headquarters for
Right.
Twitter, we're open." But yeah, I just think it's funny. I think the best meme I saw on Twitter yesterday was a picture of an airplane taking off, and it's, guess what? This isn't a dang airport. We don't need to hear about your departures. You're gonna go.
Right.
It's like all the people who said they were gonna move to Canada. They never did.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
All the people who said when Donald Trump became president, remember that? Oh,
Yeah.
when Donald Trump became president, if Donald Trump becomes president, we're moving out of the United States. Those are the same people who are now saying, they're going to leave Twitter. They're going to leave Twitter. I believe it when I see it.
And as people, I think it's a lot of chest beating, and there was a lot of people who didn't want to see it happen, but it happened.
Yeah.
And
I don't know how this is going to play out.
me either.
Is Elon Musk really some diabolical character who has got another plan and is going to, I don't know. I have no idea. But based on what he's done up until now, I see this as a pretty good thing. I see this as a win for freedom of speech. And Elon Musk had made it pretty clear because he's not originally from the United States,
Nope.
citizen now, but not originally from the United States.
He's originally
but-
from South Africa.
Correct. Musk has made it pretty clear that he wants a free speech platform for the world. He
Right.
wants this to be a global free speech platform. So you got to admire a guy who is committed to that kind of an ideal.
And honestly, I think he's more libertarian than anything else. I mean, he just wants people out of their business. He understands that
In other words, he wants government out of the way.
exactly. He just wants to be able to, he's taken it private for a reason. And that's so he can do what he needs to do with it. And like I said, if anybody can make it happen, that guy can.
Well, and then when, I'm reading this morning that Jack Dorsey, the former CEO of Twitter, is, being very complimentary of Musk and saying that, he supports what he's doing and what's going on. And even he recognizes that, and even taking the thing private, even he recognizes that things needed to change.
Yeah. And I guess time will tell. I mean, I'm not going to be one of those people who's going to be, screaming with my hair on fire right now because, again, you and I don't know.
Me
Again,
either. I tried that already.
like I said, there's probably only a handful of people who honestly know what the direction of that company and the trajectory will be in the coming months. So we just need to sit back and wait and see. And it's not anything you or I can control, so there's no reason to get mad about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't want, like you said, if you don't want to use the service, by all means don't. Then use whatever other services you like.
I think Dave Chappelle kind of says
That-
it best. The comment section is not real life.
Right.
So
All right. What are we moving on to here? What do you, where are we at?
I think we need to take a look at New to Geek this week.
All right.
So, New to Geek this week, since it's kind of a new segment we're starting, kind of a unique situation here. Greg is highly engrossed with a lot of different, I don't know, pop culture geek type activities. And I'm fairly
Yeah, if it's geek, I'm all about it.
and I'm fairly novice. So, with that being said, I don't know how many times him and I have had the conversation where it's, hey, I don't understand this, or can you explain this, or what's the backstory on this character? So, the whole point of this segment is to try and educate you a little bit. We're going to go a little broad this week, and we're going to talk about Doctor Who.
And I've been a Doctor Who fan for quite a while. What are the questions that you have about Doctor Who? We should mention it's a series from the BBC. They originally created it was a children's show, actually, and it features the Doctor and usually a companion, at least one or more companions that follow him as he travels through time using the TARDIS. I want to make sure I get this right. The TARDIS, that stands for time and time and relative dimensions in time.
So when did
In space, rather, time and relative dimensions in space is what TARDIS stands for.
So when did Doctor Who's been? I know the only thing I really know about Doctor Who are two things. It's been on for a really, really long time.
1963.
And the Dalek. Or a Dalek.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
yes.
That's just the only one I can remember. So if I'm trying to get a little bit about Doctor Who, what's the important or notable plot points of the series?
There have been so many over the years, but what happens, I think it's important to understand because there have been 13 different actors that have played Doctor Who. Started with William Hartnell in 1963. Right now, Jodie Whittaker plays the Doctor. It's the first female Doctor in Doctor Who. And she started in 2017 on the Christmas show is when she began her time as the Doctor. So you've had 13 different actors who have played the Doctor over time. And it's kind of a brilliant device, to be honest with you, because when an actor decides, or if the producers decide, we think we're done, what they will do is the Doctor regenerates, and he regenerates then as somebody else. So it becomes a new character who is still the Doctor and has the Doctor's knowledge, but is got completely a whole new set of idiosyncrasies. It's his or her own personality, and it adds a lot to the show. So when you have a new Doctor, when you have that transformation take place, what is this new Doctor like? Some can be quite funny, some a little more serious, depending on the actor who's portraying it.
Gotcha. So they're like the Trill.
Yeah, kind of.
So do they change like Doctors like every season, or is it every couple of seasons, or is it just
like I said, the current Doctor, Jodie Whittaker, has been since 2017, and she remains the Doctor right now.
You know off the top of your head who was like the longest, or which Doctor played that role the longest?
I don't.
Look it up. So what's what other notable plot points? Kind of what's the formula for Doctor Who?
Really the formula is they are traveling through time. They're correcting problems as they find them. There is a whole slate of great villains on Doctor Who. The Daleks that you mentioned, the Daleks and Davros. Davros originally built the Daleks. He controls them. And there's a turn of events where the Daleks start controlling Davros. Um, those are great characters. The Cybermen, I think you maybe
Hmm.
have seen those. The metal um men. Also, the Master was a villain. That's a big one on Doctor Who. The Weeping Angels. Those are characters that began not all that long ago in terms of, the 50 plus years of Doctor Who history. The Weeping Angels are statues, and when you turn your back, when you look away, and then you turn to look back at the statue, it's moved. You can't take your eyes off of them because they'll kill you if they get to you. So that was pretty intriguing, and there have been some great stories with the Weeping Angels. Um, the Santarans are another race of aliens that Doctor Who encounters a lot. So those are kind of the main villains of Doctor Who.
Yeah. Steve's saying David Tennant is probably the best Doctor.
I thought he was really good. I've got three that are my favorites. Um, Tom Baker.
He's the
as
longest serving Doctor.
Yeah, Doctor number 4.
Just
Yeah, Tom Baker. He was about 6.5 years, wasn't he? As I recall.
7
Yeah, 7 years.
seasons.
Yep. David Tennant is terrific. He was the 10th Doctor, and then Matt Smith, who was Doctor number 11. Matt Smith was hilarious. He brought a lot of new things and different things to that character. And in fact, they even did on their 50th anniversary Doctor Who kind of a special. They did a 50th anniversary special with David Tennant and Matt Smith, and they brought back for at the near the conclusion of it, Tom Baker came back as the old Doctor, and he says, "I like to, try out some of my old favorites over it." So this is supposed to be a much older Doctor, and he says, "Yeah, I try out the familiar faces from time to time." He says, absolutely great scene between them. I've got a bit of a soft spot too for the third Doctor before Baker, but I really like Tom Baker.
Who are the big players in Doctor Who? I mean, obviously you've got the Doctor, probably his companion. Got some of the villains. Anybody else? Does the Doctor work with a cast of anybody?
The major, especially earlier Doctor Who, you would see the Doctor working quite closely with the major. I forget his name. It just referred to him mostly as the major. And they're working side by side. The major usually doesn't know what in the hell is going on. He's just following Doctor Who's orders.
Who are the main antagonists for Doctor Who? I think we had talked a little bit about the series of villains and stuff for who the Doctor's trying to solve problems for. And kind of nailed that a little bit.
It's hard to boil it down because again, you're talking about a show that's gone over 50 years. So there have been a lot of different there's just some fantastic episodes, I think, though.
So have some people like fallen out of favor and then other ones get replaced, or has there been long-standing ones over the course of the entire 60-year series? Or 50-year series, excuse me.
Are you talking about the actors or?
I'm talking about maybe like your staple characters in there, like got your normal antagonists in the show.
What they tend to do is reappear. So maybe you haven't seen the Daleks for a period of time, and then, okay, now they're back and they're worse than ever. Generally that kind of thing. Or the Cybermen. The Cybermen have undergone some upgrades. So, and then suddenly it's like, okay, they're a lot more deadly than they were previously for some certain reason. So generally, I think what they do is they go to wherever it is their hideout, and they're plotting, and they come back worse than they ever were before. The thing about Doctor Who is Earth is always on the brink. There's some kind of destruction that is always you're on the brink of destruction. There have been some episodes, in fact, where they bring in Winston Churchill and some of the great, leaders of Great Britain, which is always kind of fun.
So typical story formula is
There
Doctor
is no
finds out
typical story formula. There really isn't.
finds out Earth or whatever dimension's in trouble, jumps in his TARDIS.
Right. Yeah, it may not even be on Earth. Maybe elsewhere. Or
Gotcha.
maybe it's Earth in the future, and then it's one of the Earth colonies, Or so there is a period where Tom Baker returns to his home planet, where he's from, which was pretty unique at least at that time that they did that. So this is a show, because of the amount of time that it's been on the air, I think it's really had to be creative in the way it reinvents itself.
I guess that kind of leads into my last question is, or one of my last ones is, so if I don't know anything about Doctor Who, but I've heard my friends talk about it, I'm like, maybe I'll try watching this.
You're hanging out with the wrong set of friends. You have no friends. Now, let's be honest. You have no friends that you would hear talk, other than me, that you would hear talking about this.
Not true, actually. I do work with some people that are Doctor Who fans.
Is that right?
Yes.
You
Believe it or
haven't
not,
told me
yes.
this.
There's reasons for that. Because the tirades you go on about with Batman, I'd hear it about Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So because again, it's been on since the 60s.
Yes.
Where does a person start digging in to start watching some episodes? Do we start at episode number 1 and watch all 40 years worth of it?
I think the best advice is if you can, you find an actor playing the Doctor that you really like, and it's an incarnation of the Doctor that you like, stick with that one. If it's there's nothing about it that's grabbing you, then I would say, you know what, go back or go forward and find another Doctor and another set of stories. But generally, I would kind of begin with the transformation, when the Doctor goes through, becomes a new Doctor. That would be a good time to pick up the show.
Gotcha.
Regardless of what season it is. So.
Well, and if I remember reading right, that's happening again here. Is it this year or next year? They're starting a new Doctor.
I had seen talks about it, but I hadn't seen anything specific.
And then,
because generally that's kind of the story, Actors come in and they last for a certain number of years, and they may leave for any one of a number of different reasons.
Other options, yep.
Yeah.
So what do I need to know to fake my way through a conversation on Doctor Who?
As long as you know the Daleks, the Doctor, you're in pretty good shape, actually. Have equipped you well enough, but it's kind of quite a terrific series. But there are some episodes that actually border on okay, wow, that almost gave me a bit of the creeps. There are others that will make you laugh out loud. There are some actually that will bring tears to your eyes as you get, you know how it is with any show. If you get wrapped up in the characters and you like the characters and you really become engrossed with, then you can have emotional stories that are going to touch your audience. And I think the Doctor has done that over the years.
All right. Steve's also saying I've got the basics. Should be good to go. Also, I need to know a couple of actors that have played the Doctor, which I think I know a few. See, my problem is knowing actors is, I've seen that guy in something. Half the time I'm wrong.
Yes.
But I know more than once. I seem to remember I just had him pulled up here, but he was in The Crown. He was playing Prince Philip.
Matt Smith
there.
Yeah. And David Tennant's another one, because you and I have watched other shows that David Tennant has been in, and he's a great actor.
Very good.
So these guys are terrific. And if you were going to start, that's where I would point you. Either one of those two, David Tennant, and if you don't like that, because I think those tend to be a little bit more serious. You go with Matt Smith. Those episodes are quite fun.
Well, there we go. Now I know a little bit more about Doctor Who, and what I know is it's very broad. A little bit of everything for some.
Time for the rundown.
Rundown.
Yeah, absolutely. These are odds and ends and bits and pieces from all over fandom, and we go through it pretty quickly. The first two episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi premiere on May 27th on Disney Plus, and Ian McGregor said while he was on the set, and this story was out this week, he said, I turned around and effing Darth Vader was coming at me. It scared the blank out of me, he said. He knew Darth Vader obviously was there, but he had never seen Hayden Christensen actually in the costume yet. So he was taken aback. Christensen also is in the news because he is talking more about his return as Darth Vader. And he's saying he wants to see more for the Dark Lord of the Sith. He's hoping there will be more that he'll be able to be in. He said the extent of this journey remains to be seen. So that was appropriately cryptic.
Now, I always thought that would have been a really good spin-off series. It's just like the Sith Lords themselves. I always thought that would have been a great spin-off series, but...
Agreed. Well, he apparently is in talks and is at least making it really, really clear that he's open to continue playing the character. Sony ain't afraid of no ghost. Sony has confirmed a sequel for Ghostbusters Afterlife. We've got to watch that. We haven't watched that yet. I want to do that. Also, there really aren't any other details. That's all we know. But they have approved a sequel for Ghostbusters Afterlife. Sony also says they have greenlit Venom 3. They announced that. Sony has also revealed the title for Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 3. Will end your suspense here. Beyond the Spider-Verse is what that's going to be called. I am, as you know, a big fan of Nicholas Meyer. He was the director of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. And Meyer is telling his social media fans that he wrote a script that takes place between the events of Space Seed. That's the original Star Trek episode that featured Khan and his followers. It takes place between that and Star Trek II, and it's called SETI Alpha 5, which is, of course, where they wind up being marooned. Meyer says it came out pretty good, but after he turned it in, he said he never heard from anybody again. Made me laugh. I hope he's successful, because I love Nicholas Meyer and the work he's done. And then finally, rumor is that Anson Mount will be exiting Star Trek Strange New Worlds after season 1. Now, that's a rumor that's been out there, but Mount suggested to Cinema Blend that Pike will be the main protagonist for the series for the entire run. That's what he's saying. So, just word to Anson Mount, look out for the Delta Rays. That's why I got Captain Pike in Star Trek, the original series. And that's this week's rundown.
Yeah, I think Strange New World starts, May 5th on Paramount Plus?
Yeah, it's coming up in May. I should have written
May 5th.
down the date. Yeah.
It's May 5th.
I've seen a couple of weeks. Yeah.
I've seen enough previews for it on Paramount Plus while I've been trudging through Voyager.
Well, it's a bit, they're launching the show, and if there are already rumors that he's going to be out after season 1, and actually, he's one of the things that I think that show is going to have going for it. Anson Mount
he's great,
terrific in Hell on Wheels. I thought he was awesome. So we'll see where it winds up.
And for our locals here, Star Wars trilogy's coming to the State Theater, so that'll be something to check out.
What do you think of it? Would you like to go see that?
Well, that's May the 4th. And then you got to remember May the 6th Strange or Doctor Strange into the Universe of Madness.
Multiverse of Madness.
Multiverse.
Yep.
You know, we're gonna
Multiverse
see
of
that
Madness.
movie. It's gonna be after it, and I'm still gonna not get that title correct.
I'm excited to see that. I think that's going to be fun.
And then you had pulled up this the Batman, but Goofy Batman.
Yeah, this will speak for itself, especially if you've seen the trailers for the Batman that's out right now. Let's we won't run all. Let's not run all of this, but run some of this because this is absolutely hilarious.
Abominable outlaws. I swear by heaven, I'll kill you all.
That sells it right there.
And it goes on.
All adds up to a sinister riddle.
Hello? Batman speaking.
What kind of creature would gobble up a bird in a tree?
The Penguin.
Now that is awesome. That graphic in putting Burgess Meredith's face
What
on
kind
the
of
penguin
creature
is
would
hilarious.
gobble up a bird in a tree?
The Penguin.
That's some serious talent right there.
Dance anymore.
You grace us with your presence.
The whole world in our grasp.
Prepare Batcopter for immediate takeoff.
This was the Batman movie.
To the Batmobile.
Now watch this when he comes barreling through these. Look at that.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
West Adam, West Adam, West Adam, West.
I laughed myself silly when I saw that one the other day. It's hilarious. In fact, I noticed on Facebook this evening, Adam West's family shared that because they continue Adam West's page even after his death as a tribute page to Adam. So they shared that. That's hilarious.
I gotta tweet that right now.
Yeah, please do.
And then just as we were getting ready, it sounds like it's confirmed that they are going to be making a sequel to the Batman.
Which is terrific. I really enjoyed it. Let's hope they kind of trim this one down in terms of length.
Yes, absolutely.
Maybe not try to jam quite so much in it.
Yeah. In fact, that my Twitter kind of blew up about Steve, it's too bad. They yeah, it kind of blew up here. That must have just came out here in the last hour or so. Well, Greg, I we got to do our normal rundown here of rapid fire response here. So without
Okay.
I always need the upper hand on these, so that's why I get to write the question, I guess. But what if right now, today, right after we're done and off the show here, you had to cancel one streaming service, what's it going to be right now?
Netflix.
Netflix?
Yep.
Why?
For the reasons we talked about earlier, really. And I pay for extended number of screens for my kids to use, but I just don't use it that much myself that I have a hard time justifying the cost.
I hear you. Disney is what Steve's getting rid of. I would say probably right now, if I had to get rid of one, I'm kind of on the fence with Disney because Disney. The only reason I was holding on to it is I do enjoy The Mandalorian and stuff like that, but
So do I.
I think it's a while before that one comes back out, and there's nothing else really.
And you're pretty good about one of the things I like about you because you will pick up the service and you know, a lot of us, it's, oh yeah, I should cancel it, but you will go, boom, done, get rid of it. So you watch what you want, you get rid of the service. I admire that, actually. I think that's the way to go. And I think especially with the economy getting a little bit tight,
Oh yeah,
you
that
meet a
stuff's
lot
expensive.
more people who will be doing that.
Oh yeah, because I can tell you because like I pick up services for like Spotify. I picked up one for like Scribd, which is like audiobooks, but I listen to a ton of them while I drive. Then it's like HBO, and then I think what's the other one I've got? Disney right now. But beyond, and then Amazon we have just because we've got Amazon Prime anyway. But that's just kind of always been there because I pay for the Amazon service, which I don't know that it's any faster anyway anymore.
And there's a number of things, especially older stuff that I watch on Amazon that I
Yep.
like, because I'm just stuck with old stuff. I love old stuff.
But there you go. So I think now we're on to probably.
Oh, the Cave of Wonders.
Cave of Wonders.
Huh? Cave of Wonders?
This week, I thought, well, especially with the focus that Michael Keaton has been getting on his appearance in the Flash movie, if that ever comes out, if Ezra Miller's able to get out of jail.
Maybe he can get out on work release.
Fly straight. This is an 1989 Batman statue. It's done by Iron Studios. It is, it's about 8-9 inches long, about 9 inches long. And I like this. This is a really nice statue. One of several. And I like that one. It's a great Michael Keaton statue.
Who makes it? I didn't catch what you said.
It's Iron Studios that produced it. Yep.
Just look at those abs. And then, yep, and that's just the back of it.
Right. And that base is really nice and it's solid.
Yeah.
And then the figure has
Rotates
got
a little bit.
Yeah, it's got a peg that comes out of his foot, so you can turn him a little bit on that stand. But it's pretty solid. It's a nice piece.
It is. And it seems to really match the other 89 Batman stuff you have.
Agreed.
Laura's wanting to know, do you have the book Gotham 1919 to 1939?
No.
Something to research.
Right.
I'm guessing he will by the end of the week.
Right. Well, my comic books, I just received today. It was, I have been buying some of the like Batman of the 40s, Batman of the 50s, Batman of the 60s, Batman of the 70s, Batman of the 80s is on the way. I just got Batman Secrets of the Batcave, which features both drawings that appeared in the comic books of the Batcave through every decade. So in the 60s, in the 70s, 80s, you can see the Batcave, and then stories from that era. So
Awesome.
yeah, I'm kind of, it's a great way. One of the things that I enjoy is it's a great way to collect comics over quite a long period of time without having to invest in all the individual comic books and still read those stories.
I think you were telling me about that is because like again, I'm not a comic book person, but once you get that comic book, you really want to keep it in its case, and then you get the all those collection books, so you can actually read them.
Right. And there are comics before I read or before I seal them up, I will read them.
Mhm.
But that'll be the last time generally that I read them. Once I seal it up, I don't go back into it. So those kinds of books are really handy for a guy like me.
Yeah.
Then I can see all those stories and I'm like, and then I've got hardcover books, then the best of Batman, the best of Robin. These are like anniversary books, 80-year anniversary books for these characters. Best of Joker, and it's got a variety of different Joker stories in there, and that's just terrific. Great stuff.
I guess if I want to learn about that, you'll just throw me one of those books and say, "Here, read."
You won't be careful with it though.
I don't eat Cheetos and then go read your stuff.
Oh, that would. You're gonna kill me just saying that.
I don't touch your stuff. I know
No,
better.
You're very good about that. You're very, very good about that.
But
Well, I think we got through everything.
that's the entire list. That's the
we
rundown.
have got through everything. Thank you. First of all, if you like what we're doing, will you please give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you didn't like what we did? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Share it if you feel so inclined. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter.
Twitter is where we primarily post a lot of the stuff. I mean, when Greg does his rundown each week, he posts a lot of the articles that we're getting from, he's getting his stuff from there.
So thank you so much for letting us join you tonight. We appreciate it. Katie and I have fun every Monday night, and it's fun to spend some time with you. So long until next time. Same time, same channel.